Welcome back. Let's go through the key points. So we have discussed master and worker node together make a Kubernetes cluster. That's what we see. So this whole thing is called a Kubernetes cluster. And what do we see? A master node. There can be more than one master node as well if you need more high reliability or high availability. So, but the number of worker nodes are always more than the number of master nodes. That's for sure. So then we have something called as worker node and we have an Kubernetes internal virtual network. So master plus worker node together make cluster. That's true. Application as a Docker container gets deployed only to worker node. What do this line mean? So whatever we talked about so far, that application getting Dockerized into Docker image and then Docker image getting pulled and run as Docker container. This Docker containers only run in worker node. We don't deploy a Docker image of our application in master node. The Docker image or the container of our application only runs in the worker node. And then each worker node has a kubelet. So if we see, one of the component of worker node is called kubelet. So what does this kubelet do? So kubelet is just another software or is an agent that runs on each of the node in the cluster. So here it's running, here it's running, here it's running. So this kubelet communicates with master, and if something is changed in the master, then it's kubelet's responsibility to do that change on the worker nodes. What does it mean? So first, every worker node will have a kubelet agent running. That's what we see. Then, what is the role of this kubelet agent? It is going to take command from master. If some things has to be executed on the worker node, then the kubelet is going to take that command and this kubelet agent is going to run that command on that particular worker node. So it's like a service delivery guy who is taking instructions and executing it on the worker node if there is any instruction for it from the master. So now we know that kubelet is listening to the commands from the master and running it on behalf on a particular worker node. So let's see what is pod. Pod is basically a smallest unit of deployable component in Kubernetes. So if you see, every worker node can have more than one pod running. So there can be pod 1, pod 2, pod 3. Many pods can be running. And in each pod we can have the containers which will be running inside them. And what are these containers? These are the application which are dockerized, and from the Docker image, a container instance is created. So these containers are actually running inside this particular pod. So inside a pod also we can run multiple containers, but we are going to look at it later. What are the advantages and disadvantages of doing that? But at least inside the pod, we should run one container. It can be a database, it can be an application with Python, PHP, .NET, doesn't matter. So, and similarly, there can be many pods running on a particular worker node. So there are many worker nodes. Each worker nodes run many pods, and each pod can run containers. Hence, pod is called as the smallest unit of deployable components in Kubernetes because we don't deploy containers to Kubernetes cluster. Rather, we deploy the pods to the Kubernetes cluster. And whatever is inside that pod is going to get executed or keep running on the worker node. So this is about whatever we talked about the worker node and pods and kubelets. So in the next video, we are going to talk about the different components around the master node. So let's go ahead and do that in the next video. Thank you.